2016 really was just the fucking worst, wasn't it? An entire year's worth of being repeatedly kicked in the nuts by enthusiastic reminders that in real life the bad guys can easily win, a plurality of humanity is even dumber than you thought they were, and all of us are adrift in a cold and indifferent universe with no logical or moral center to speak of, and no innate mechanisms for justice, peace, or progress, but what you make for yourself. Yeah, but at least there were some good movies, right? And maybe 2017, whatever the hell else happens, will provide some lovely distractions as well. Here's the 10 I am most looking forward to. Okay, obvious disclaimer. This is mostly a list of big mainstream movies, not because I've suddenly lost my taste or adventurous spirit, but because the festival season hasn't kicked in yet, and thus we don't know whether most of the worthwhile, smaller, mid-grade, independent and/or foreign-produced features set to make the rounds for 2017 will actually end up coming out in 2017. So if you're wondering why this or that vaguely alluded to potential Sundance darling that may or may not have a release date yet isn't on the list, well, that's why. Number 10, Wonder Woman. Spoiler alert, Justice League is nowhere to be found on this list. Why? Because Man of Steel was bad, Suicide Squad was bad, and Batman v Superman was unbelievably bad. Look, at this point, the DC Extended Universe is this close to being a worse blockbuster franchise than Transformers. So no, I don't expect it to be good, and I'm not looking forward to having to watch it. And that same logic should honestly hold for Wonder Woman, but, well, look, like it or not, superhero movies are basically the official state religion of big-budget movie-making and global movie-going culture right now, so yes, no matter the pedigree, the first such film of this dominant era to be female-led is a big fucking deal and worth paying attention to, especially as it's coming in the form of the best-known and most iconic female superhero ever created. Wonder Woman matters tremendously as a cultural icon, so this would be an important moment in mainstream film, even if it didn't have the question of whether or not it can escape the rest of the DC movies' tractor beam of suck. Like it or not, this will be regarded as a proving ground moment for women directors, women leads, and women-specific blockbuster storytelling, so fingers crossed. Number 9, Star Wars Episode 8. You know, I almost wasn't even going to put this one on here because, well, we haven't really seen anything from it yet, we don't know anything about it, not even a title other than, hey, a new Star Wars movie, and unlike The Force Awakens, we don't really have the obligatory anticipation of, holy shit, Star Wars is back. Anticipated, yes, but not top 10 anticipated. But yeah, now we've lost Carrie Fisher, which makes this an actual landmark, a memorial really, and I don't have anything to say about it other than that, but yeah, this one matters a little bit more now. I hope it's good. Number 8, Thor Ragnarok. The Thor movies are the weird outlier of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In the overall cosmology, they're very important, but the movies have been sort of not really. The first one is a fun enough low-tech throwback to cheesy 80s sci-fi fantasy hybrid. The Dark World was just kind of disposable, but for this one they brought in a very exciting new director. We're supposedly getting a whole new tone and a bunch of business imported over from Planet Hulk, and the promise that this one will be big, different, and important to a degree that has to be getting harder to achieve in the Marvel stable at this point, so here's hoping on this one too. Number 7, Lego Batman. You know, Warner Brothers using the Lego branding to produce toyetic, kid-friendly side projects to franchises they're also actively making real blockbusters out of is a development scenario almost dystopian in its cynical, late-capitalist tail-gobbling, and yet the first Lego movie turned out to be both heartfelt and implausibly subversive, up to a point, so who's to say it can't work twice? All I know is the idea of a Batman movie that almost looks to be giving a giant middle finger to the post-Frank Miller grim and gritty bullshit that the same studio has been making very serious live-action movies out of is a fairly delightful prospect on my end. And if this really is a Batman movie that's about how badly the franchise and title character needs things like Robin, Batgirl, and to lighten the fuck up, I'm there. Bring it on. Number 6, Free Fire. Now how's this for a premise? It's the 70s, it's late at night, a bunch of sleazy criminal types meet in an abandoned warehouse to buy and sell some guns, something goes wrong, and everybody spends the whole rest of the movie in a protracted feature-length gunfight. Now that's economical storytelling. And if the premise doesn't get you in the door, the fact that it's the latest from Ben Wheatley and Amy Jump, the demented duo behind Kill List, Sightseers, A Field in England, and High Rise, had better do the trick. Number 5, Get Out. It wouldn't feel right if there wasn't at least one horror movie on my list, and this one comes to us written and directed by Jordan Peele from, yes, Key and Peele. A young black man visits his white girlfriend's family in their very, very white upscale hometown for the first time, and starts to feel like something isn't quite right. Specifically, that the few other black people he meets seem to be a little too content, well-behaved, glad to be around, as if maybe something has been done to them, and is potentially about to... Okay, yes, it's the Stepford Wives, or for those of you who don't acknowledge the existence of anything cultural produced before the 1990s, disturbing behavior, but for racism instead of the patriarchy. That is a killer fucking premise. It is hard to believe it hasn't been done before. I cannot wait to see what they do with it. Number 4, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. The first Guardians of the Galaxy was a flat-out great little movie, even if you don't give one shit about the grand Marvel continuity project. But part of what made it feel electric was that it was also so fresh and different. We hadn't seen these characters before, we hadn't really seen a sci-fi movie with this kind of groove in forever, you get the idea. So will that lightning strike twice now that the Guardians themselves are an established major brand? I guess we'll find out. Number 3, Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. A new big-budget Europulp sci-fi epic from Luc Besson a full 20 goddamn years after The Fifth Element, this time an adaptation of the legendary French comic book series by Pierre Christin and Jean-Claude Mézières. It's about damn time. Hopefully people actually show up to the theaters for this one. Number 2, John Wick Chapter 2. Did you see John Wick? Okay, if you have, I don't need to explain this one to you at all. And if you haven't seen John Wick, what the hell are you still waiting for? See John Wick. Number 1, SpiderMan Homecoming. Do I expect this to be the best movie of the year? No, I do not. Not by a long shot. But I'll never stop hoping when it comes to Spider-Man, and it's going to be a fascinating pop culture artifact no matter what. At this point, you sort of know the Marvel movies will be good. They're basically the Pixar of superhero movies by now, but it's interesting to watch how various challenges get negotiated still. And in this case, my interest comes from watching how Marvel handles a scenario where for the first time, they're going to have to settle for making only the second best version of one of their properties. See, even though overcoming the dogshit Amazing Spider-Man reboots will likely go without saying, I just can't conceive of anyone actually pulling off a better Peter Parker Spider-Man movie than the first 2 Sam Raimi films. It's exactly the same problem Warner Brothers kept running into with Superman. How can anyone ever hope to top Richard Donner and Christopher Reeve? So far, they can't. So it's really going to be something to watch Marvel try to thread that needle. I mean, you know, they probably could have avoided the issue altogether by going with Miles Morales, but they decided not to do that, so let's see what happens here. And that's my list. If it doesn't match up with your list, tough titty, but if you'd like to argue with it, please jump down into the comments after you like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Let's look forward to the new year for as long as we can.